I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to start writing songs with whatever chords you already know how to play on guitar, plus maybe one or two new ones. By the end of this video, you'll be able to take those chords and write 3 distinct sections of a song that work well together and contrast in a way that's pleasing and fun to play. We're also going to cover some stuff that's really important that I think gets left out of a lot of other tutorials. So that's cool, right? Today we're going to cover chords, how to choose your first set of chords and how to choose other chords that work well with those chords. We're going to talk about song structure. How do you create sections in a song that sound different but that work well together? And articulation. How are we going to make those different sections distinct, fun to play and fun to listen to? Today we're just going to focus on the musical aspects of songwriting. There are loads of tutorials out there if you're interested in learning how to write lyrics, and all of those videos will complement what we go through in this video. We're going to start by choosing our first set of chords. If you've been playing music for a while, I just want you to come up with 3 or 4 chords that kind of work well together and that have a sense of completeness and rest towards the end. 3 or 4 chords. If you're a newer guitar player, here's what I want you to do. I want you to write down all the chords you know, and I want you to play them in any order, and I want you to cross out the ones that don't really sound particularly good until you're left with 3 or 4. I want you to choose one of those chords that sounds like a good ending, like a sense of resolution, and I want you to have that at the end of your chord sequence. Oh, and you can use any of those chords more than once if you want. My chords are going to be G, C, D, and then I'm going to play G again at the end there. That G has a real sense of completeness to it, which is why I'm putting it at the start and at the end. Sections in music are usually 18 or 16 bars long, so we're going to think about how long we want this first section to be, how long we want to play each of those chords. I'm going to play my chords for half a bar each, 2 beats, a minim, whatever you want to call that. We've effectively got 4 beats of G because it's at the start and at the end. And that phrase is 2 bars long. So I want to play it a total of 4 times, so we have 8 bars. This is our first section, and because it has that sense of completeness, that roundness, that sense of resolution, this is going to be our chorus. Cool. So what is a chorus? The chorus is often the part of the song that gets stuck in your head. Typically in a song, the chorus will happen several times and the lyrics will be basically the same every time. This might be a good time to talk about song structure. So the structure that we're going to use today is verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. Very straightforward, 3 sections, and this is a structure that an awful lot of Western popular music has been written around. Quite often there's some sort of deviation from this structure, but this is what we're sticking with today. I'll definitely make videos in the future about how we can alter that structure to make it more complicated and more interesting, but for now this will do. And you can see that because we've already written the chorus, we've done half the work. I mentioned earlier that choruses have a sense of rest and resolution to them. Bridges and verses don't, or at least not to the same degree as a chorus. They should still sound like they fit. They should sound good with the chorus, even if they themselves are a little more tense. The reason for that is contrast. In order for the chorus to sound big and bold and epic, the sections between the chorus kind of need to sound tense, so that when you get to the chorus, it does sound big and epic by contrast. So the choruses should be big and epic, the verses should be tense, and the bridge should be even more tense than the verse. So now we need to find some chords for the verse. In order to make sure your verse chords fit with the chorus chords, we're actually going to start by looking at the chorus chords. I want you to find that chord that made your chorus sound like it was at rest. It gave it that sense of resolution. Mine was G major. Because G major has this sense of rest in this section, there's a high likelihood that G major is the tonic chord of my song, which means that our key is G major. If you're a slightly more advanced guitarist and you know how to work out the chords within a particular key, I want you to pause the video and write down all of the chords available diatonically within your key. If you're a newer guitarist, or if what I said didn't make any sense to you, it's fine. We're just going to use our old friend Google. I want you to take that chord that has a sense of rest within your chorus, and you're going to Google chords within the key of, for me, it's chords within the key of G major. Somewhere within the first couple search results, hopefully you'll find all of the chords available to you in your key. And what does that mean? That means that you can play any of these chords in any order and it will basically sound fine. And they will all sort of contribute to the same sense of rest and resolution that your chorus has. If there's any chords listed in there that you don't know how to play, just pause the video, go and Google how to play those chords and come back when you're ready. But I would suggest you ignore the diminished chord. Just don't worry about it. For now, it's fine. For your verse, I want you to choose mostly chords that you did not use in your chorus. We are looking for two things, and it may take a bit of trial and error to achieve these two things, so be prepared to put some time in. Two things you're looking for are, firstly, the verse chords need to sound good, but not as complete and as restful as the chorus. The second thing you're looking for is that you need to be able to transition from your verse chords into your chorus chords and back and forth, and it needs to sound pleasing. If it sounds jarring or unusual, you might want to swap the order of the chords a little bit until you get something that transitions nicely. As long as your verse chords do those two things, you have a good verse. I'm going to choose B minor, G and D for my verse chords. I'm going to play B minor and G for 2 beats each, and then hold D for a whole bar. Verses are usually 8 or 16 bars long. They can be the same length as a chorus, but we don't want it to be shorter than the chorus, okay? Our verse phrase is only 2 bars long, so I could play it 4 times or 8 times, and the length of the verse is often determined by the lyrics that you have, and because we're not worrying about lyrics today, I'll just make it shorter. So we're going to play this phrase 4 times, which gives us a total of 8 bars for the verse. The chorus should feel like home, the verse adds a degree of tension, and the bridge is going to add an even greater degree of tension. If we were to make a map of the tension in our song, it would look something like this. We can see that the choruses feel good and restful, the verses are tense, and the bridge is even more tense than the verses. So how do you find chords that sound tense, but that still feel like they fit with the song? The first way we can create tension is by holding chords for a long amount of time. If you hold a chord that isn't the tonic chord for a long time, it feels more and more tense the longer that you hold it. So in my song, the longest I've held a chord is 1 bar, so I could hold a chord for 2 bars to create a sense of tension. The second way that we can create tension is to use chords that we know will sound tense. That diminished chord I asked you to ignore earlier, this might be a good time to use it. If you try the diminished chord and it sounds too tense, or you just don't like it, which I totally get by the way, you can just change it to a minor chord. So in the key of G major we have F sharp diminished. I could, if I wanted to, play F sharp minor. We're going slightly outside of our key signature when we do that, but not in a way that's, a problem. And there are other ways we can break away from our key signature to create a sense of tension without having to know a lot of music theory. So here's one. Take all the chords available to you in your key signature, swap the major chords for minor and the minor chords for major. So in the key of G major, for example, my A minor chord becomes A major, right? Using chords entirely from this new selection might be a bit extreme. That would take us quite far outside of our key signature, but using one or two of them is enough to just kind of put a little bit of a twist on the key signature, just make it a little more interesting for this section. So I'd encourage you to try one or two of these new chords. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play A major for 2 bars, and then I'm going to play a bar of D followed by a bar of C. That gives me a pattern that's 4 bars long, so I can play it twice and have an 8-bar bridge. Using our song structure template, our song looks a bit like this. We have a few sets of chords, they work well together, there's a recognizable structure now and a degree of tension and release. I'm not going to call it a song just yet. There's one more thing I think we need to do. Articulation is a really important part of songwriting that I think gets overlooked, and that's why I'm sharing it with you today. You need to find ways to add variety to keep your listener interested and to make the song more fun to play and to complement the chords that you've chosen. For guitarists, articulation can mean using specific techniques, strumming, picking, palm muting. It also kind of means chord voicings like bar chords, power chords, open chords, and it can also mean the rhythm that we play. Do we hold a chord for a full bar, or do we play 8th notes or palm mute 30-second notes or whatever? So let's start with the chorus. Like I've said a few times already, the chorus needs to be big and exciting and uplifting. So I think that open chords is probably the way to achieve that, and we'll just strum them. We have 3 choruses in this song, and I like to have some evolution of sections throughout a song. So the first time we play the chorus, I'm just going to hold chords, just hold the open chord once each, and that's the first chorus, and then we'll strum the other choruses. The verse needs to be a bit more mysterious, and maybe in terms of dynamic needs to be a bit lower, less bold and bright and exciting than the chorus. So maybe we play bar chords and maybe we palm mute them. Maybe we palm mute the first 2 chords, and then the D that we hold for a bit longer, we take the palm off to let the chord ring through a little bit. And the bridge is an opportunity, obviously, to do something completely different. So we're holding on to that A major chord for quite a while. That could give us the opportunity to do a nice sort of arpeggio pattern where we pick out the notes individually, and then when we go to the C and the D, we can strum them kind of like the chorus. Let's do a quick recap. So step 1 was to choose chords that you know already, 3 or 4 chords that sound good together and that have a sense of rest when you get to the last chord, and we're going to call that the chorus. Step 2, we chose a second group of chords for the verse. They needed to work well with the chorus, so we played verse, chorus to make sure they had a good flow to them, and they needed to have a degree of tension, so they didn't want to sound as bold or restful as the chorus. Step 3 was to choose a third set of chords to be our bridge, and we needed an even greater degree of tension than the verse, so we had a bit of freedom to go outside the key signature slightly to find those chords. And step 4 was to put those different sections in the verse, chorus, bridge, chorus structure, and that's the song. We did it. We made a song. Look at that. There's loads more to be said about songwriting. We've covered the absolute bare essentials in this video, but I'm not exaggerating when I say that this is enough to go away and write some really excellent music. Yes, you can absolutely make it more complicated if you want to, and I'm really excited to be working on a few more videos to help you do that, to help you make slightly more complex structures and complex songs. But for now, you totally have enough to get started. When you feel like you want to get a little more complex with your songwriting, or you want to develop some ideas in some new and interesting ways, come over to my channel, see what I've got going on. And if there isn't a video that deals with your specific question, please don't be afraid to ask it in any of the comments or by dropping me a message. I am at LTGuitarist most places. I use Threads, Instagram quite often, but probably YouTube most of the time. So yeah, don't be a stranger. I'm really bad at ending videos.